Today we got quite a luxurious monkfish feast here on the menu. It will be fried monkfish with caper butter as well as a beautiful cauliflower puree. So here you can see all the ingredients that we are going to use today. The first thing I want to do is turn on some heat on one of my burners here, and I'm going to boil up some water that we will be adding our cauliflower to in a little bit. Now you could also steam this, but I wanted to keep it simple today. So next up here we're going to clean off our cauliflower and then we'll chop it up into little pieces. Now you don't need to worry about making this look beautiful, as we will be pureeing them here afterwards. We're gonna add all this to our boiling water, and I'm thinking we're gonna let them boil for about 15 minutes or so. Now for the monkfish, I'm also going to preheat the pan here with about a tablespoon's worth of olive oil. Now for the monkfish itself, I'm using about 350 grams worth here. I'm gonna clean off any sinew and other stuff like veins from the fish. As for the slices of the fish, I like to keep them at about 1 inch in thickness. And I'm just gonna cut these into manageable, more bite-sized pieces here. Yeah, so that's perfect. So that's about a 2-biter here. And I'm gonna go ahead and cover our monkfish pieces here entirely in this batter, I suppose, or no, it's batter, like dry batter perhaps. The reason we're doing this is that they're going to be a lot more crunchy on the outside, kind of browning when you do it like this. So I'm going to add them directly to the pan. Now this batter is pretty simple. It's just half a cup of flour as well as a teaspoon of paprika, as well as a little bit, maybe half a teaspoon's worth of crushed white pepper. And I just mix that nicely together there. And I'm going to go ahead and fry these on pretty high heat for about 2 minutes on each side here. So I'm going to turn around our monkfish, and you can see beautiful and brown. Now we don't want to do more than this here because we're going to be basting them afterwards with some butter sauce. Okie dokie, so while the fish is finishing up there, why don't we get to chopping on our herb sauce here. So we're going to use about a tablespoon's worth of capers. I'm going to chop these capers up quite finely. Now capers add quite a delicious taste to our butter sauces. To be honest with you, before this challenge, by the way, I'm cooking monkfish the entire month, I didn't like capers very much, but I've really grown to like it over the past month. Also going to be chopping up what I would describe as a handful's worth of parsley here. Probably closer to like 2 tablespoons. So I have a few different types of parsley here. This is more common in Norway, but any will do fine. So we're also going to be using the zest of about half a lemon. So I'm just gonna grate this all off and try to keep my fingers here safe. So these are the ingredients we'll be using to make our butter sauce. Now I like to make the butter sauce directly in the pan along with the monkfish. We're gonna take about 4 tablespoons worth of butter here. Now this is salted. If you have unsalted butter, you could use that. That's probably better, especially if you don't like it too salty. So I'm gonna keep the heat here pretty low now because the fish is essentially done. But we still need a little time to melt the butter and infuse all these herbs. So let's toss all our beautifully cut up herbs into the sauce as well. And I'm going to squeeze in the remains of this lemon. So about half a lemon. So I'm just going to mix up the sauce a little bit. Basting is essentially that you take the butter and you pour it over your monkfish. So I'm just going to do that just for a little bit. A minute is probably plenty. So fish and sauce is done now. I'm going to place this to the side. Alright, next we're going to work on our cauliflower puree here. So the cauliflower is done cooking, should be soft now. So I'm going to transfer this over to somewhere that we can mix it up. So let's add a little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt, Norwegian favorite here. Next I'm going to take my blender here and I'm just going to blend this up thoroughly, and that is done. Now I saw some guides saying you could add a little bit of milk or a little bit of water to this if it's too thick, but I think this is perfect consistency since we cooked it. So that's done as well. As a finishing touch, we're going to wilt some spinach leaves. To do that, I'm just going to turn our pot back on here and I'm going to place a tiny bit of water into a pan, and I'm going to take about a handful's worth of spinach leaves here and I'm going to toss them into the water. I'm just going to let this boil down entirely with just a tiny bit of salt and pepper. So our spinach here looks done, so I'm just going to add in a tiny bit of butter and we're going to mix that in there and we are ready to plate. And the recipe for the cauliflower here actually came with specific instructions, so I'm going to take a good spoon's worth here and I'm going to place it down like so. I'm going to make, let's do 3 of these for one person, so this is probably sufficient for 2 people, this entire meal. By the way, I'm gonna do exact measurements if you want to cook this yourself, and I'll add a link in the video description I'll put together a recipe for you guys. So once that is down, we're gonna take these wilted spinach leaves that we just cooked up, and we're gonna add those on top. And then we have our beautiful fish here. So I'm taking 1 piece on each. Dun dun. If it was not clear, I actually don't work at the Michelin star restaurant, but I do try my best. Give the video a thumbs up if you're enjoying this. And we finish up with just a spoonful of this beautiful sauce here. May have overdone it a little bit with the parsley, but that's fine. And that looks delicious. So let's give it a taste test here with my one-handed fork. I can't believe I'm ruining this beautiful creation that I made. It smells really zesty and nice. Cheers! Oh, that's very rich in taste. I really like that. You can feel the zest coming through. Monkfish, of course, delicious. Kind of acidic, bitter. And that cauliflower really balances it out. And the monkfish was cooked to perfection, of course. This was a really, really good meal that I think you can impress your friends with. And of course, I'll see you tomorrow for another monkfish recipe here in Monkfish Month. Thanks for watching today, guys.